Now, it's already been a busy summer for one of Rafa's former clubs, Newcastle United, with plenty of transfer movement in and out of the club. Let's go live to Newcastle and speak to our reporter, Keith Downey. Keith, great to see you as always. Newcastle fans will want us to start with this, the future of their captain, Bruno Guimarães. What can you tell us?
Yeah, James, thanks very much. Welcome to the quayside here at Newcastle, where I have to say every Newcastle fan that I've walked past, that is the one question on their lips. What is happening with Bruno right now? And that is because the news broke just less than 48 hours ago that Bruno Guimarães has asked Newcastle about the possibility of leaving the club and exploring a move to Arsenal. Now, the thing that makes this confusing, I think perplexing for Newcastle United, is that they have had no direct contact from Arsenal at all regarding the availability of Bruno Guimarães. No contact, no bid, no nothing, but there has been contact made with Newcastle through intermediaries. So, of course, Bruno Guimarães has got a super agent working for him right now. My understanding, James, of the situation is that Bruno himself has spoken to the club and indicated that he would be keen to explore a potential move to Arsenal if it were there, but only on the grounds that suited Newcastle. And by that, I mean, if the offer came in and it was low, he would understand Newcastle turning it down. But if the offer was high and it was something that Newcastle felt was acceptable, then I think Bruno Guimarães, as I understand it, would be keen to speak to Arsenal and potentially move there. He's at a stage in his career. He's 28. He'll be 29 in a couple of months' time. He wants to win titles. He wants to win trophies. And he's probably looking at it and thinking that's not going to happen here at Newcastle, hence why he would be keen on that move to Arsenal. But as I say, there has to be contact and a concrete bid from Arsenal to Newcastle, and that has not materialised so far. This is what the fans think.
To be honest with you, I think you can understand his feelings. He wants to win something, but there's no reason why he can't stay, maybe win something with Newcastle. I hope he stays, but if he goes, well, there's nobody bigger than the club.
Legend of the club, but the season we've just had, almost like can't blame him for wanting to go. The club feels like it's in a little bit of a mess. We're starting to sign players, but I don't know, it's one of them. I want him to stay, obviously, but I can't blame him for what's going on.
It's not great. The uncertainty in what's going on, I would like him to stay. The media has given mixed signals, I think.
What do you mean?
Where the reports that he's leaving and he wants to leave, and then the reports that it's just his agent talking about that. Whereas I want him to come out and physically say what he wants to do, whether he wants to stay or whether it's really him that wants to go, and if it's just the agent talking. So, you know, he's a club captain. He should be staying around. The club should be putting their foot down and saying we want you to stay.
Yeah, well, I think Bruno's just going to do right by himself and his family. I mean, who wouldn't? Arsenal are going to come in and obviously they've got bigger wages and we're not ready to compete at that level yet. And as long as Newcastle invest wisely in the squad with the money, I haven't really got a problem with it, to be fair.
You know, he's a playmaker. He's very dynamic. And he loves the club, and I think it's more the fact that he loves the club. He's expressed his love for the club, and I think that's what's hurting me. But what annoys is if he does want to go, it's fair enough. But why sell him to a competition? Why not sell him overseas?
Keith, talk to us about the direction of the club this summer. Already we've seen a clear shift in the transfer policy, it seems.
Yeah, and just listen to those Newcastle fans there. You can tell that they sense that, they see that themselves. It's clear and it's obvious that I think gone are the days of Newcastle, certainly in this window, breaking their transfer record. We saw that last summer when Nick Woltemade arrived from Stuttgart for £69 million. Alexander Isak 2 years previously for £63 million. That's not the model for Newcastle, and I've been saying that for a few months now. That is not the plan for Newcastle. They're looking to try and do things a little bit differently, bring in players slightly cheaper. I mean, I say cheap, but sort of between 20 million and 40 million. I think they would push the boat out a bit more for a star name or someone they really wanted, but generally trying to keep within those parameters. And in terms of age, looking at sort of between the ages of 18 and 24, and you look at the players that they've signed already in this transfer window. Sean Stour arrived yesterday from Ajax in a £23 million move, aged 18, so he fits perfectly into that bracket. And Basu Toure just last weekend arriving for 40 million, so right at the top end of that bracket, but he's 21. So that's the way Newcastle are trying to do things, and it's almost what I'm told is they're trying to almost make it a little bit like Borussia Dortmund over in Germany, where they are buying young players with a high ceiling, hoping that they can improve under Eddie Howe on the training ground. That is where Eddie Howe is, of course, is at his best. But these players with a high ceiling to improve at Newcastle, potentially move on for a big fee, but just different waters that they're fishing in. Look, they've sold 3 big names in recent times in the shape of Isak, Anthony Gordon just a couple of months ago for 70 million, and of course Sandro Tonali to Tottenham for 100 million. So they have done well so far with their recruitment. Last window wasn't good, and they need to make up for that. That is why they're trying to do things differently. So it's not quite Brighton, but more like sort of Borussia Dortmund. That is what they're trying to do, and that's why we're seeing such a shift of the type of players Newcastle are going for. But they need to keep experience as well. They know that, and that is why they're very keen to hold on to Bruno Guimarães, and that is why they do not want to sell him to Arsenal. They're desperate to keep him. But of course, if a concrete offer comes in from Arsenal for Bruno Guimarães, and it's big money, I think the tipping point is probably around about £80 million, and Bruno wants to go, I think then Newcastle have got a decision to make.
Keith, in terms of players with a high ceiling, the arrival of Johan Manzambi would certainly excite supporters. Where are we at in terms of a potential move for him?
Yeah, I mean, look, we're stood here talking about exits from the club. We're talking about Bruno Guimarães potentially leaving. But look, there is a lot of good news. There's a lot of good work taking place at the club. The sporting director, Ross Wilson, took over just in October, and he's already brought 3 new faces in. And the club are working round the clock to bring in new faces. And the one they're in the middle of right now, you are right, it's Johan Manzambi, who, of course, is with Switzerland over at the World Cup right now. 5 goal involvements, 3 goals. He's been very, very good over there in the USA. And what I can tell you is that Newcastle have the framework of a deal in principle to sign the 20-year-old Swiss international. A delegation from the club travelled over to Germany earlier this week to meet with Freiburg, where of course he plays. They have reached a verbal agreement with Freiburg for his signature, £49 million. So you'll notice, James, that £49 million is above the 40 million parameters I mentioned earlier, but they are willing to go a bit above that if they feel it's the right player. And Manzambi is top of their wish list this summer, so they're very, very keen to get him. So they have a verbal agreement there with Freiburg. I'm also of the understanding that the player has agreed personal terms with Newcastle as well, but he's not signed the contract, and he will not be committing 100% until he leaves the World Cup, until Switzerland are eliminated from the World Cup. And of course, they're through to the last 8, aren't they? So Newcastle are going to have a nervy few days just waiting till that ends, in the hope that he does sign. And then once they get him on a plane over here to sign the deal, only then will they be able to relax. Because I think they've had their fingers burned with the Victor Munoz deal, where they thought they had him. It was done. It was agreed. The player had agreed personal terms. And then Liverpool swooped at the last second to hijack the deal. They don't want that to happen with Manzambi either. So that is why they're moving forward with a degree of caution. But there is a verbal agreement in place for Manzambi. And irrespective as to whether Bruno Guimarães stays or goes, from what I'm hearing, they still would be looking for one other midfielder. So lots of good work going on. They are bringing players in here, but of course the one question on every supporter's lips right now up here in Newcastle is what's happening with Bruno.